Good morning, everyone. It is January the 30th today, and it is also part 35 of my journey to becoming a voice actor. Yes, that's right. We have officially reached part 35. It's pretty crazy, which means that the next milestone, part 40, will be by next week. Let's see if our 35 today. By next Wednesday, part 40 will be out. Or we'll be doing part 40, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, part 35. That's sorry, just making sure here. Okay, camera's okay. It just looked a little weird for a second. But yeah, we're at part 35. So pretty crazy. But we're still going at it. I apologize for starting the stream a bit later. I did not sleep well last night, and it is not because I actually stayed up late. I actually went to bed decently earlier than I did last night. So I would have gotten 8.5 hours of sleep, which would have been more than enough for me. But unfortunately, I was just super thirsty through the whole night, and I had like enough water for the first few hours, and then I had to go downstairs and refill it, and yeah, it's just a whole thing. So, anyways, doesn't matter. Here now, we're still doing the stream. Stream's not canceled or anything like that. There's some days where I might just need to get that extra rest so I can do these streams. And it's not a big deal if it's like an hour or so later because it works for my schedule. That's okay. But yeah, who knows? Maybe more of you will tune in since I'm going until 1 o'clock today instead of 12. So we'll see. Anyways, so plan for today. Yesterday we were starting to work on the Worth It Kids short. I like the later time. Hey Brandon, what's going on? Yeah, honestly, it's something I've been thinking about in the back of my mind. Um I might switch it so I'm doing like 10 to 1 instead of 9 to 12. We'll see. I'm going to keep it 9 to 12 for now just because in the special I say that I stream from 9 to 12. Um but yeah. So the 100 sub special that's going up tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But yes, yesterday we started practicing the Worth It Kids Wizard Beer, Wizard Ale short. It's actually a lot more tricky than I thought it was going to be. Um, Started practicing it, and line delivery is very fast. So let's try and get that down. Um, I don't know if I want to record myself, uh, like record my face on half of it and the other half be the video. Um, Maybe just to show for sure in case people doubt that I'm doing it with my own voice, in case people mistake it's like, oh, he just stole this. Like, so yeah, you know what? I might actually do that. I probably will do that. Um, Also, I was at a bar the other night, last night after my acting class, and I bumped into this guy that's a friend of my acting teacher, and he was telling me how one technique he used for recording on podcasts and stuff when they had the cameras was snap the finger. So that way you can sync the audio more easily. It's something I completely forgot about. But it's really, really important because that way you know for sure, okay, just sync it when the snap happens and then the rest will follow perfectly. Which I learned that a long time ago too. I just completely forgot about it. So if I hadn't been reminded of that, I wouldn't be trying to do it now. So yeah, that's that. Let's open up the short Wizard Beer.
Whoa, what a
Yes, you can do a snap or a clap. Yeah. Yeah, that is what I used to do when I did an internship a long time ago for video editing. Yeah, you look for the giant sound spike. So like Wizard Bear. Yes, we're gonna try and get it down today. I've decided that I'm going to record myself doing it just in case anybody is confused, or if I upload it with just the video itself, people are like, oh, like you just stole this, like you didn't do the actual voices or anything. So if I show my face doing it, then it's a bit more, I guess, believable or legit. But you can't always please the internet. Okay. So let's take a look at the short again. What I still want to do for sure, so we're gonna do two separate recordings. The first is gonna be for this. The first is gonna be for the wizard, so not this guy you see on screen right now, but the second will be for this character, because the wizard has way more lines. So we want to do the wizard first to get him out of the way, and then after we'll do this guy. You don't think so? You think I should just upload it as is without my face? But just the video and then it's just my voiceover? Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, because the other thing too is if I upload it with my face, then you don't really see the short that well. You have to like, it's already in this format, so I think it actually would look kind of weird. I think it would probably compress it. Um, but yeah. Okay, maybe I'll just do that. Anyways, let's listen to the French voiceover. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna do my take on the characters, but I'm listening to like how it's speaking and then I'm doing my version. So let's give it a listen through just to refresh ourselves.
Whoa, what a cool mountain.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. Hey! We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it taste?
Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
My body!
Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by
me and all my owls from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret. God, I love that. I do have school in a bit, but good luck with everything. Loving the progress. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate that. Good luck with school. We're at part 35 on our journey to becoming a voice actor. Let's go. That's awesome. Okay, so let's try the Wizard's Lines. We're gonna try practicing through. We'll do it with the audio to refresh our memory.
Whoa, what a cool mountain.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they've come to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, I actually remember the lines decently well. I'm surprised. All right, all right. All right. Let's try that again, but with no audio. Let's see if I can nail it without the audio.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some, but wary.
Oh, whoops.
Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Oh. Man, Brandon, having a deviated septum sucks. I wish I could just breathe clearly out of both my nostrils. It's always just been one nostril I breathe in through normally, and then the other one's just blocked. And then sometimes it unblocks. It's not like bad, but it's just a little annoying sometimes. Let's try that again. Let's try a different take. So we did the how did you get here? Let's try a different voice.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops from distant prairies that we...
Whoops.
That we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Nah, that one doesn't work. That version doesn't work. Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! How's it taste? 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 My body. Oh, my body. It's so over the top. I love it. It's hilarious. Okay. So let's try recording. Let's see if we can get this recording done. I think we're getting close to getting this down. So let's give it a shot. Let's make sure the audio is set up properly here. Let's do a quick audio check. Test, test, test. 1 2 1 2. Looking good. Test, test, test. 1 2 1 2. Looking good. Yep. All right. Audio is good. Sweet. All right. So let's try with Wizard Bear. Wizard Bear. Let's try the wizard's lines. See if we can get it down. We don't need to clap or anything, since we're just doing one voiceover. But I guess we'll get into the habit of it. And then the only lines for the like villager NPC guy is like the young adventurer guy is like, whoa, 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 what a cool mountain. Whoa, what a cool mountain. And hey. And how's it taste? How's it taste? How's it taste? And then, oh, my body. That's it. It's just those 4 lines. All right. Make sure the face is warmed up. Excuse me. How does it taste in thick Scottish accent? It tastes fucking great, lad. Yes, there is an edit I saw of that. Somebody did it in a Scottish accent. How does it taste? It tastes fucking great, lad. I think I'm the only, or no, I know it's everywhere, but everybody else has done like a slightly different take on this. But from what I've looked up on YouTube, I don't think anybody's actually done like just a straight up like word for word rendition where they do it in their own voice, where they keep the same dialogue. So we're doing it a little bit differently than everybody else. Everybody else is doing more of a parody. I'm doing like a dub over. So it's still like technically a parody, right? Because we're doing a cover. But yeah. So we'll see. Because the thing is, I'm not using the same music he's using or whatever. But obviously, we're gonna tag him, tag his channel in the thing, hashtag him, and yeah, I'll see how that goes. And this will be one short. Like, it's 41 seconds long. There's no reason to break it up into 2. It's no reason. All right. Or 38 seconds long. All right, let's give this a shot. Ugh.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some, it won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Alright, let's see how that sounded. Just thought of something funny. Oh my god. Okay, let's give it a listen.
How did you get here? How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew. How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some, it won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Okay, not bad. I need to get rid of my pendant because it's making too much noise. Sorry, Hercules. We're gonna have to put you to the side. Not bad. Not bad at all. But I think we can do better. So we'll mute that. Actually, we're not going to use that take because of the noise, but that's okay. That is a-okay.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's fresh and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. How's it taste? Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more muscular. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard ale, wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, where we collect from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
I could do that, or
Coming to a tavern near you, but it won't because it's secret. Coming to a tavern near you, but it won't because it's secret.
All right, let's try again. Oh.
How did you get here? How did you get here? How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops, from the...
Fuck. Fucked up. Okay, I gotta try again. Try again.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard Beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
All right, let's see how that sounded.
How did... How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop. How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard Beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Yeah, I like this voice I'm doing more. Okay, so we gotta turn the volume down a little bit. It's peaking a little too much there. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. That's better. All right. All right. Go again. I got less than 20 minutes to get this down before we take our first break. I want to get this down with both parts so I can move on to something else that I have a plan for. And it is not from a specific movie or game or animation. So we're going to do that. Oh. All right. Let's give this a go.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. It's good and it's delicious and it...
I already fucked up. Let's try again.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. It's good and we brew it and it's delicious and it's made of hops from the distant prairies.
Messed up again. Okay. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious. That's what it is.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountain, where I brew my secret ale. How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale, Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. It's good.
Fuck. It's not it's good. It's we brew it and it's good and it's delicious.
Good and it's delicious and it's made of and it's delicious and it's good. Hey! We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it taste?
Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
My body!
Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all of my owls from hops that they've coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Just stop the recording. Let's try that again. Come on.
Whoa, what a cool mountain.
How?
Oh. How? 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 How did you get here? How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Alright, let's give this a listen. Hopefully it's not as loud.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret. Because it's secret.
Okay, that take's not bad. Maybe one more just to see and compare. We'll edit that, those breaths out.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Secret ale, wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it, and it's good, and it's delicious, and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret. Secret. It's secret. Secret.
What are we thinking?
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
I actually really like this take, I'm not gonna lie. I think this is pretty damn good.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Yeah, I actually really like this take. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is probably the one for the wizard. I really, really like it. So now we gotta do the villager's voice. We'll call this adventurer's voice. And then we'll call this the wizard's voice. All right, let's get this out. Whoa, what a cool mount! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain!
Whoa, what a cool mountain!
Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Actually, I need to watch it to make sure I know all the lines where they are. Whoa, what a cool mountain!
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop, where I brew my secret ale. Wizard ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls.
Hey!
We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it taste?
Try
How's it
some.
taste?
That we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it
Try
taste?
some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
Oh, my body!
Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all of my owls from hops that they've coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain!
How did you get here?
Whoa, what a cool mountain.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. Hey! We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it
Try
taste?
some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
My body!
Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all of my owls from hops that they've coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Whoa, what a cool mountain.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. Hey! We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made of hops that we collect from the prairies, the distant prairies in the woods.
How's it taste?
Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
My body!
Wizard beer, made fresh
That's
on
how
the
we'll do his
mountaintop
thing.
by me and all
my
owls
body!
from hops that they've coming to a tavern. You more powerful and muscular. Wizard beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all of my owls from hops that they've coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Whoa!
The fuck?
Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! How's it taste? My body!
Let's see how that sounds.
Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! How's it taste? How's it taste? My body!
Oh god, that's It's good.
You more powerful and muscular. And muscular.
My body!
Wizard Beer.
Whoa, what a cool
How
mountain!
did you get here?
Whoa, what a cool mountain!
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls.
Hey!
We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies of distant prairies in the
How's
woods.
it taste?
Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular.
My body!
Wizard Beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they're coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
All right, I think we got our voices. That's perfect. That's awesome.
How's it taste? My body!
Oh, that's great. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll export this. All right, and just so we're honest with ourselves, let's make sure we exported this properly. The hell? Why is it muted? Oh, I'm just dumb.
How did you get here? This is my secret mountaintop where I brew my secret ale. Wizard Ale, made fresh on the mountain by me and my army of little owls. We brew it and it's good and it's delicious and it's made from hops that we collect from the prairies, of distant prairies in the woods. Try some. It won't hurt you, but it may turn you more powerful and muscular. Wizard Beer, made fresh on the mountaintop by me and all my owls, from hops that they coming to a tavern near you, except it won't because it's secret.
Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! Hey!
We need to get rid of.
Hey! Hey! How's it taste? My body! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! Whoa, what a cool mountain! Hey! How's it taste? My body!
Nice. All right, we got it down. We did it. Okay, so we finally got that down. So I'm going to take a 10-minute break, and when I come back, we will resume with another project that I have in mind. An idea for project, I should say. We're going to try it out. But yeah, I'll do the whole creation process of it with you guys on stream. So it'll be cool. Anyways, I will see you all in 10 minutes. I'll be back. All right, and we're back. We're so back. Sorry, that was a little longer than 10 minutes, I know. But we're here, we're back. So for the remaining amount of time we have, we've got an hour and a half left. I want to start planning out a project. So we've got about half an hour to plan this out. Now, this project, I want to make it another narration. So, because I want to focus on that for the next month or so, is narrations. I really want to get good at doing that. And also because I'm trying out this, I've got the improved Dolly model from ChatGPT that I want to try out. And I'm using ChatGPT version 4. So let's share the screen here. We'll play some. I can play some music actually while I'm doing this. It's all right. So last stream yesterday, I was sort of just exploring the possibility of maybe doing something in space, like a horror narration, maybe something scary, a little spooky. So I want to change up the prompt a little bit, see if we can make it really like unnerving, creepy, scary, but have like a twist ending. Something in a more positive note. So I'm gonna say, write me a narration script for voice acting that is set in a 4-dimensional chaotic landscape. This story has to include the main character, and the story must end in a good ending. However, despite this ending in a good ending, this needs to be as scary, creepy, and terrifying as possible. Spare no detail. Make this as intricate as possible. I want the listener to feel like they are in this world. 4-dimensional world. Okay, so this is the prompt we're gonna work with. So, write me a narration script for voice acting that is set in a 4-dimensional world. This story has to include a main character, and the story must end in a good ending. However, despite this ending in a good ending, quote unquote, it needs to be as scary, creepy, and terrifying as possible. Spare no detail. Make this as intricate as possible. I want the listener to feel like they are in this 4-dimensional world and are on their toes, bracing themselves for what comes next. Let's see what it comes up with. And the beauty of this prompt too is if I don't think it's scary enough, I can just say make it more scary. Make it more scary. Make it more scary. Over and over and over again. And we could keep going. But let's just see what it gives with this. Let's see what ChatGPT 4.0 cooks up. What the fuck? Did it just delete what I wrote? What the fuck? It's not even sending it. That's so weird. What the hell? Yeah, I'll delete this. Yeah, let's try this again. Write me a narration script for voice acting. The story must include a main character. Despite this having a good ending, it needs to be as scary, creepy, and terrifying as possible. Spare no detail and be as intricate as you. I want the story to make the listener okay. Write me a narration script for voice acting that is set in a 4-dimensional world. The story must include a main character and must have a good ending. Despite this having a good ending, it needs to be as scary, creepy, and terrifying as possible. Spare no detail and be extremely intricate in describing what is going on. I want the story to make the listener feel like they are on the edge of their seat at all times, trying to brace themselves for whatever comes next. Alright, here we go. Let's see what it cooks up. That is nowhere near scary enough. Alright, let's see what this says here. In a chilling, hushed tone, the narrator sets the scene. Venture, if you dare, into the shadowed realm of the fourth dimension, a place beyond human comprehension, where the very fabric of reality contorts in nightmarish ways. This is the story of Alex, who unwittingly crosses into this unspeakable domain, a world known as Tesseria. Tesseria. Let's see what image it comes up with. Whoa, okay, that's pretty cool. Hmm. Interesting. All right, well, I think what we'll do is we will come back to this another time. I think I'll just read for a little bit of an extended period. So let's close this up. Huh. All right. All right, so let us continue now with our book, Mastery by Robert Greene. Last where we left off, we finished reading through chapter, I think it was 5, I believe. Yes, we finished reading through chapter 5, which talked about different strategies that 9 different masters took. Or 9 different approaches / strategies that these masters took to achieving mastery. And a lot of interesting insights we learned from that. The very last one being from Teresia Fernandez, who was skilled at creating these sculptures that combined elements of realistic elements into it that invoked certain emotions. And now we are on chapter 6, Fuse the Intuitive with the Rational, Mastery. This is the last chapter, and we talked about, it was a very long story about a man named Marcel Proust, who had a very rough life overall. Both his parents died, and he wrote a book. It didn't succeed. His parents pressured him into trying to get a career. He still refused. Then his father died. 2 years later, his mother died because his mother couldn't handle the loss. And then he was, for a while, he was depressed because he was so attached to his mother. He was terrified of the day he would lose her. And eventually he realized that what he needed to do was, instead of writing about just high society and high society things, you know, it's not, what was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Instead of high society things, he wrote about just his life, essentially, his life story, but with different characters that he created. Sorry. Alright, so let us continue now. I don't really like this music right now. Let's like turn that off. Throughout history, We read of masters in every conceivable form of human endeavor, describing its sensation of suddenly possessing heightened intellectual powers after years of immersion in their field. The great chess master Bobby Fischer spoke of being able to think beyond the various moves of his pieces on the chessboard. After a while, he could see fields of forces that allowed him to anticipate the entire direction of the match. For the pianist Glenn Gould, he no longer had to focus on notes or parts of the music he was playing, but instead saw the entire architecture of the piece and could express it. Albert Einstein suddenly was able to realize not just the answer to a problem, but a whole new way of looking at the universe, contained in a visual image he intuited. The inventor Thomas Edison spoke of a vision he had for illuminating an entire city with electric light. This complex system communicated to him through a single image. In all of these instances, these practitioners of various skills described a sensation of seeing more. They were suddenly able to grasp an entire situation through an image or an idea, or a combination of images and ideas. They experienced this power as intuition or a fingertip feel. Considering the power such intelligence can bring us, and the tremendous contributions to culture made by masters who possess it, it would seem logical that such high-level intuition would be the subject of countless books and discussions, and that the form of thinking that goes with it would be elevated into an ideal for all of us to aim at. But oddly enough, this is not at all the case. This form of intelligence is either ignored, relegated to the inexplicable realms of the mystical and occult, or ascribed to genius and genetics. Some even try to debunk this type of power in general, claiming that these masters are exaggerating their experiences, and that their so-called intuitive powers are nothing more than extended forms of normal thinking, based on superior knowledge. The reason for this overall disregard is simple. We humans have come to recognize only one form of thinking and intelligence: rationality. Rational thinking is sequential by nature. We see a phenomenon A, and we deduce a cause B, and maybe anticipate a reaction C. In all cases of rational thinking, we can reconstruct the various steps that were taken to arrive at some kind of conclusion or answer. Just going to open up the chat here in case you guys have comments. We see a phenomenon A. Oh, let me mute myself. Don't want to hear myself talking. There we go. This form of thinking is extremely effective and has brought us great powers. We developed it to help make sense of our world and to gain some control over it. The process that people go through when they arrive at an answer through rational analysis can generally be examined and verified, which is why we esteem it so highly. We prefer things that can be reduced to a formula and described in precise words. But the types of intuitions discussed by various masters cannot be reduced to a formula, and the steps they took to arrive at them cannot be reconstructed. We cannot go inside the mind of Albert Einstein and experience his sudden grasp of the nature of the relativity of time. And because we recognize rationality as the only legitimate form of intelligence, these experiences of seeing more must either be forms of rational thinking that just happen faster, or are simply miraculous by nature. The problem we are facing here is that high-level intuition, the ultimate sign of mastery, involves a process that is qualitatively different from rationality, but is even more accurate and perceptive. It accesses deeper parts of reality. It is a highly legitimate type of intelligence, but one that has to be understood in its own right. And in understanding it, we can begin to see that such power is not miraculous, but intrinsically human and accessible to us all. Let us try to make sense of this form of thinking by examining how it might operate in two very different forms of knowledge: the life sciences and warfare. If we were to study a particular animal in order to understand it, we would break up our analysis into several parts. We would study its various organs, brain, and anatomical structure in order to see how it has adapted differently from other animals to its environment. We would study its behavior patterns, how it gathers food, and its mating rituals. We would look at how it functions within an ecosystem. In this way, we would be able to piece together an accurate picture of this animal, covering it from all angles. With warfare, we would go through a similar process, breaking it up into parts: field maneuvers, weaponry, logistics, strategy. Having deep knowledge of these subjects, we could analyze the results of a battle and come to some interesting conclusions. Or, with some field experience, we could lead an army into battle and do an effective job. In taking these analyses as far as possible, however, something is inevitably missing. An animal is not merely the sum of its parts that we can understand by adding them up. It has its own experience and emotions, which play an enormous role in its behavior, but which are elements we cannot see or measure. It has its own highly complex interactions with the environment that can become distorted when we break them up into parts. The animal's continuously fluid, dimensional interaction with its environment is also something that is not visible to our eyes. With warfare, once battle is engaged, we become susceptible to what is known as the fog of war, the highly unpredictable element that comes into play when two opposing forces square up and nothing can be precisely anticipated. The situation is continuously fluid, as one side reacts to the other, and the unexpected intervenes. This battle, in real time, has an interactive changing element that cannot be reduced to its parts or to simple analysis, and is not something we can see and measure. This unseen element that constitutes the animal's entire experience, and that makes battle a fluid, organic entity, can be called various things. To the ancient Chinese, who understood this very well, it was known as the Tao, or Wei, and this Wei inhabits everything in the world, and is embedded in the relationships between things. The Wei is visible to the expert in cooking, carpentry, warfare, or philosophy. We shall call it the dynamic, the living force that inevitably operates in anything we study or do. It is how the whole thing functions, and how the relationships evolve from within. It is not the moves of the pieces on the chessboard, but the entire game, involving the psychologies of the players, their strategies in real time, their past experiences influencing the present, the comfort of the chairs they are sitting in, how their energies affect each other. In a word, everything that comes into play, all at once. Through intense absorption in a particular field over a long period of time, masters come to understand all of the parts involved in what they are studying. They reach a point where all of this has become internalized, and they are no longer seeing the parts, but gain an intuitive feel for the whole. They literally see or sense the dynamic. In the living sciences, we have the example of Jane Goodall, who studied chimpanzees in the wilds of East Africa for years as she lived among them. Interacting with them constantly, she reached a point where she began to think like a chimpanzee and could see elements of their social life that no other scientist had come close to fathoming. She gained an intuitive feel for not only how they functioned as individuals, but as a group, which is an inseparable part of their lives. She made discoveries about the social life of chimpanzees that forever altered our conception of the animal, and that are no less scientific for depending on this deep level of intuition. In warfare, we can point to the great German general Erwin Rommel, who was said to possess the highest form of the fingertip feel ever chronicled in the history of battle. He could sense exactly where the enemy was thinking of striking and foil their plans. He could launch an offense at precisely the weak point in their lines of defense. He seemed to have eyes in the back of his head and oracular powers for reading the future. He did all of this in the deserts of North Africa, where it was nearly impossible to get any clear sense of the terrain. Rommel's power, however, was not occult in nature. He simply had a much deeper knowledge than other generals of all the aspects of battle. He constantly flew over the desert in his own plane, gaining a bird's-eye feel for the terrain. He was a trained mechanic, and so had a complete knowledge of his tanks and what he could expect of them. He had studied in depth the psychology of the opposing army and its generals. He interacted with almost all of his soldiers and had a clear sense of how far he could push them. Whatever he studied, he did so with incredible intensity and depth. A point was reached where all of these details became internalized. They fused together in his brain, giving him a feel for the whole picture and a sense of this interactive dynamic. The ability to have this intuitive grasp of the whole and feel this dynamic is simply a function of time. Since it has been shown that the brain is literally altered after approximately 10,000 hours of practice, these powers would be the result of a transformation that happens in the brain after some 20,000 hours and beyond. With this much practice and experience, all kinds of connections have been formed in the brain between different forms of knowledge. Masters thus have a sense of how everything interacts organically, and they can intuit patterns or solutions in an instant. This fluid form of thinking does not occur through a step-by-step process, but rather comes in flashes and insights as the brain makes sudden connections between disparate forms of knowledge, causing us to sense the dynamic in real time. Some people like to imagine that such intuitions do operate sequentially, but simply happen too fast for the thinker to see the steps. This reasoning comes from the desire to reduce every form of intelligence to the same rational level. But with a discovery like the theory of simple relativity, if Albert Einstein himself could not begin to reconstruct the steps in retrospect that led to his insight on the relativity of time, then why should it be imagined that such steps exist? We must trust the experience and descriptions of these masters, all people with high levels of self-awareness and analytical skills. It would be a misconception, however, to imagine that masters are simply following their intuitions and moving beyond rational thinking. First, it is through all of their hard work, the depth of their knowledge, and the development of their analytical skills that they reach this higher form of intelligence. Second, when they experience this intuition or insight, they invariably subject it to a high degree of reflection and reasoning. In science, they must spend months or years verifying their intuitions. In the arts, they must work out the ideas that come to them intuitively and rationally shape them into a form. This is hard for us to imagine because we find intuition and rationality mutually exclusive. But in fact, at this high level, they operate together in a seamless fashion. The reasoning of masters is guided by intuition. Their intuition springs from intense rational focus. The two are fused. Although time is the critical factor in attaining mastery and this intuitive feel, the time we are talking about is not neutral or simply quantitative. An hour of Einstein's thinking at the age of 16 does not equal an hour spent by an average high school student working on a problem in physics. It is not a matter of studying a subject for 20 years and then emerging as a master. The time that leads to mastery is dependent on the intensity of our focus. The key, then, to attaining this higher level of intelligence is to make our years of study qualitatively rich. We don't simply absorb information. We internalize it and make it our own by finding some way to put this knowledge to practical use. We look for connections between the various elements we are learning, hidden laws that we can perceive in the apprenticeship phase. If we experience any failures or setbacks, we do not quickly forget them because they offend our self-esteem. Instead, we reflect on them deeply, trying to figure out what went wrong and discern whether there are any patterns to our mistakes. As we progress, we start to question some of the assumptions and conventions we have learned along the way. Soon, we begin to experiment and become increasingly active. At all points in the various moments leading to mastery, we attack with intensity. Every moment, every experience, contains deep lessons for us. We are continuously awake, never merely going through the motions. The person who best exemplifies this usage of time for mastery is Marcel Proust, whose great novel, In Search of Lost Time, concerns this very subject. I think that's my cue to have some water. In French, the word for lost is perdu, which equally means wasted. And to Proust, and to many of those who knew him as a young man, he seemed the least likely person ever to attain mastery, because on the surface, he appeared to waste so much valuable time. All he ever seemed to do was read books, take walks, write interminable letters, attend parties, sleep during the day, and publish frothy society articles. When he finally applied himself to translating Ruskin, he took an incredibly long time and involved himself in seemingly irrelevant tasks, like traveling to locations Ruskin described, something no other translator would think of doing. Proust himself complained endlessly about the time that he had wasted as a young man and how little he had accomplished. But these complaints cannot be taken at face value, because he never gave up. Despite his physical weakness and bouts of depression, he continued to try new endeavors and kept widening the scope of his knowledge. He was tireless and tenacious. These moments of self-doubt were his way of propelling himself forward and reminding himself of the short amount of time remaining to him. He had a deep awareness of a sense of destiny, of an overall purpose for his strangeness that he was called to fulfill through his writing. What made those 20 years qualitatively different from those of an ordinary person was the intensity of his attention. He did not simply read books. He took them apart, rigorously analyzed them, and learned valuable lessons to apply to his own life. All of this reading implanted in his brain various styles that would enrich his own writing style. He did not merely socialize. He strained to understand people at their core and to uncover their secret motivations. He did not just analyze his own psychology, but went so deeply into the various levels of consciousness, he found within himself that he developed insights about the functioning of memory that foreshadowed many discoveries in neuroscience. He did not merely translate, but strove to inhabit the mind of Ruskin himself. In the end, he even used the death of his mother to intensify his development. With her gone, he would have to write himself out of his depression and find a way to recreate the feelings between them and the book he was to write. As he later described it, all of these experiences were like seeds, and once he had started his novel, he was like a gardener, tending and cultivating the plants that had taken root so many years before. Through his own efforts, he transformed himself from an apprentice to a mature writer and translator, and from there to a novelist who figured out what to write about, which voice to assume, and how to attack his subject. At some point, after he began writing his novel, he underwent a third transformation. Memories and ideas came flooding into his mind. Even as the book kept expanding, he could intuit its overall shape and the relationships between the many tiles of the mosaic. This immense novel had a living, breathing dynamic that was now completely alive within him. He was inside his characters and the whole slice of French society he was writing about. More important, he was completely inside the narrator, who is Proust himself. And in his novel, it's as if we are literally, from the inside, experiencing the thoughts and sensations of another person. He was able to achieve this effect through the intuitive powers he had gained from close to 30 years of perpetual work and analysis. Like Proust, you must also maintain a sense of destiny and feel continuously connected to it. You are unique, and there is a purpose to your uniqueness. You must see every setback, failure, or hardship as a trial along the way, as seeds that are being planted for further cultivation, if you know how to grow them. No moment is wasted if you pay attention and learn the lessons contained in every experience. By constantly applying yourself to the subject that suits your inclinations and attacking it from many different angles, you are simply enriching the ground for these seeds to take root. You may not see this process in the present, but it is happening. Never losing your connection to your life's task, you will unconsciously hit upon the right choices in your life. Over time, mastery will come to you. The high-level intuitive powers we are talking about have roots in our development as the thinking animal. They have an evolutionary purpose that is extremely helpful to understand, and one that is highly relevant to the times in which we live. The roots of masterly intuition. For nearly all animals, speed is the critical factor in survival. A few seconds can spell the difference between avoiding a predator or meeting death. And for the purposes of such speed, organisms have evolved elaborate instincts. An instinctual response is immediate and is generally triggered by certain stimuli. Sometimes organisms possess instincts that are so finely calibrated to circumstances that they seem to have uncanny abilities. Take, for instance, the Ammophila wasp. With incredible speed, the female Ammophila is able to sting her various victims, spiders, beetles, caterpillars, in precisely the right place to paralyze but not kill them. Into the paralyzed flesh, she lays her eggs, providing her larvae with fresh meat to feast upon for several days. In each of these victims, the stinging points are different. For instance, with the caterpillar, she must hit at 3 separate points to paralyze the entire creature. Because it is such a delicate operation, sometimes the Ammophila misses and kills the victim. But generally, her success rate is high enough to ensure the survival of her offspring. In this process, there is no time for calculating the kind of victim and the exact spot to hit. It is instant, as if the wasp has a feel for the nerve centers of her various victims and can sense them from the inside. Our primitive ancestors had their own set of instincts, many of which remain buried within us to this day. But as these ancestors slowly developed reasoning powers, they had to detach themselves from their immediate circumstances and depend less on instinct. To notice behavior patterns in the animals they were tracking, they had to connect them to other actions that were not immediately apparent. They had to make similar calculations when it came to locating food sources, or to navigating the long distances they traveled on foot. With this ability to detach themselves from the environment and see patterns, they gained tremendous mental powers. But this development also presented a great danger: increasing amounts of information for the brain to process, and a consequent loss of speed in reacting to events. Such slowness could have spelled doom for us as a species, if not for a compensatory power that the human brain developed. Years of tracking particular animals and observing their surroundings gave our ancestors a feel for their environment in all of its complexity. Knowing the behavior patterns of various animals, they could anticipate where predators might strike and sense where prey might lie. They came to know so well the long distances they traveled that they could negotiate these spaces quickly and effectively, without having to calculate. In other words, they developed a primitive form of intuition. Through continual experience and practice, our ancestors recovered some of the immediacy and speed they had lost. They could respond intuitively instead of instinctually. On this level, intuition was more powerful than instinct, in that it was not tied to very specific circumstances or stimuli, but could be applied to a much wider arena of action. These ancestors' brains were not yet burdened by all of the information that comes through language or the complexities of living in large groups. Interacting so directly with their environment, they could develop an intuitive feel over the course of a handful years. But for us, living in a much more complex environment, this process can take 15 to 20 years. Our high-level intuition, however, has its roots firmly in the primitive version. Intuition, primitive or high level, is essentially driven by memory. When we take in information of any kind, we store it in mnemonic networks in the brain. The stability and durability of these networks depends on repetition, intensity of experience, and how deeply we pay attention. If we are half listening to a vocabulary lesson in a foreign language, we are not likely to retain it on any level. But if we are in the country where the language is spoken, we will hear the same words repeated in context. We will tend to pay deeper attention because we need to, and the memory trace will be that much more stable. According to the model developed by the psychologist Kenneth Bowers, whenever we encounter a problem, a face we need to recognize, a word or phrase we need to recall, mnemonic networks within the brain become activated as the search for the answer is guided along certain pathways. All of this occurs below the level of consciousness. When a particular network is sufficiently activated, we suddenly become conscious of a possible name for the face, or a phrase that might be appropriate. These are low-level forms of intuition that come to us in our everyday life. We cannot reconstruct the steps that went into recognizing a person's face and remembering their name. People who spend years studying a particular subject or field develop so many of these memory networks and pathways that their brains are constantly searching for and discovering connections between various pieces of information. When confronted with a high-level problem, the search goes in 100 directions below conscious awareness, guided by an intuitive sense of where the answer might lie. All kinds of networks become activated, ideas and solutions suddenly rising to the surface. Those that seem particularly fruitful and appropriate stick in the memory and are acted upon. Instead of having to reason an answer through a step-by-step process, the answer comes to consciousness with a feeling of immediacy. Alright, well, we actually still have a bunch of time to read, so we'll keep going. We'll go until 1 o'clock today, as we start a bit later. Let me just take a sip of water. Oh. Alright, let's continue. The extremely high number of experiences and memory networks that become hardwired allow the brains of masters to explore an area that is so wide that it has the dimensions and feel of reality itself, of the dynamic. For someone like chess master Bobby Fischer, the number of times he experienced a similar sets of circumstances and witnessed the various movements and reactions of different opponents created powerful memory traces. He internalized incredible numbers of patterns. At some point in his development, all of these memories fused into a feel for the overall dynamic of the game. He was no longer seeing simple moves on the chessboard and recalling various countermoves he had made in the past, but rather was able to see and recollect long sequences of potential moves that presented themselves as fields of force, sweeping the board as a whole. With such a sense for the game, he could entrap his opponents well before they were aware of what was happening, and could finish them off as quickly and precisely as the Amophila delivered her sting. In fields such as sports or warfare, or any competitive endeavor where time is of the essence, masters' decisions based on intuition will be much more effective than if they had to try to analyze all of the components and figure out the best answer. There is too much information to consider in too short a time. Although the power of intuition was originally developed for the rapidity it brought, it has become something that can be applied to the sciences or the arts, or to any field in which there are complex elements and time is not necessarily the critical factor. This high-level intuition, like any skill, requires practice and experience. At first, our intuitions might be so faint that we do not pay attention to them or trust them. All masters talk of this phenomenon, but over time, they learn to notice these rapid ideas that come to them. They learn to act on them and verify their validity. Some lead nowhere, but others lead to tremendous insights. Over time, masters find that they can call up more and more of these high-level intuitions, which are now sparking all over the brain. Accessing this level of thinking on a more regular basis, they can fuse it even more deeply with their rational forms of thinking. Understand, this intuitive form of intelligence was developed to help us process complex layers of information and gain a sense of the whole. And in the world today, the need to attain such a level of thinking is more critical than ever before. To follow any career path is difficult and requires the cultivation of much patience and discipline. We have so many elements to master that it can be intimidating. We must learn to handle the technical aspects, the social and political gamesmanship, the public reactions to our work, and the constantly changing picture in our field. When we add to this already daunting quantity of study, the vast amounts of information now available to us, and that we must keep on top of, it all seems beyond our capability. What happens to many of us when faced with such complexity is that we feel suddenly discouraged before we even try anything. More and more people in this overheated environment will be tempted to opt out. They will develop a greater taste for ease and comfort. They will increasingly settle on simplified ideas of reality and conventional ways of thinking. They will fall prey to seductive formulas that offer quick and easy knowledge. They will lose a taste for developing skills that require time and a resilient ego. It can hurt our self-esteem in the initial phases of learning a skill, as we are made so aware of our awkwardness. Such people will rail against the world and blame others for their problems. They will find political justifications for opting out, when in truth, they simply cannot handle the challenges of engaging with complexity. In trying to simplify their mental lives, they disconnect themselves from reality and neutralize all of the powers developed by the human brain over so many millions of years. This desire for what is simple and easy infects all of us, often in ways we are mostly unaware of. The only solution is the following. We must learn how to quiet the anxiety we feel whenever we are confronted with anything that seems complex or chaotic. In our journey from apprenticeship to mastery, we must patiently learn the various parts and skills that are required, never looking too far ahead. In moments of perceived crisis, we must develop the habit of maintaining our cool and never overreacting. If the situation is complex and others are reaching for simple black and white answers, or for the usual conventional responses, we must make a point of resisting such a temptation. We maintain our negative capability and a degree of detachment. What we are doing is gaining a tolerance and even a taste for chaotic moments, training ourselves to entertain several possibilities or solutions. We are learning to manage our anxiety, a key skill in these chaotic times. To go along with this self-control, we must do whatever we can to cultivate a greater memory capacity, one of the most important skills in our technologically oriented environment. The problem that technology presents us is that it increases the amount of information at our disposal, but slowly degrades the power of our memory to retain it. Tasks that used to exercise the brain, remembering phone numbers, doing simple calculations, navigating and remembering streets in a city, are now performed for us, and like any muscle, the brain can grow flabby from disuse. To counteract this, in our spare time, we should not simply look for entertainment and distractions. We should take up hobbies, a game, a musical instrument, a foreign language, that bring pleasure but also offer us the chance to strengthen our memory capacities and the flexibility of our brain. In doing so, we can train ourselves to process large amounts of information without feeling anxious or overtaxed. Faithfully pursuing this course over enough time, we will eventually be rewarded with intuitive powers. That whole living, breathing, changing beast that is our field will become internalized and live within us. Possessing even a part of such power will instantly separate us from all of the others who find themselves overwhelmed and straining to simplify what is inherently complex. We will be able to respond faster and more effectively than others. What seemed chaotic to us before to be simply a fluid situation with a particular dynamic that we will have a feel for and can handle with relative ease. What is interesting to note is that many masters who come to possess this high-level intuitive power seem to become younger in mind and spirit with the passing years, something that should be encouraging to us all. They do not need to expend a great deal of energy in order to understand phenomena, and can think creatively with increasing speed. Unless debilitated by disease, they can maintain their spontaneity and mental fluidity well into their 70s and beyond. Among such types are the Zen master and artist Hakuin, who made paintings in his 60s that are now considered among the greatest works of his time, remarkable for the spontaneity of expression they reveal. Another example is the Spanish filmmaker Luis Buñuel, whose surrealist films seemed to get richer and more startling as he reached his 60s and 70s. But the quintessence of this phenomenon would have to be Benjamin Franklin. Franklin had always been an acute observer of natural phenomena, but these powers only increased with the years. In his 70s and on into his 80s, he continued with a series of speculations that are now considered uncannily ahead of his time, including advanced ideas on health and medicine, weather, physics, geophysics, evolution, and the use of aircraft for military and commercial purposes, and more. As he aged, he applied his renowned inventiveness to his growing physical weaknesses. Trying to improve his eyesight and quality of life, he invented bifocals. Unable to reach books on the tops of his shelves, he invented an extendable mechanical arm. Needing copies of his own work and not wanting to leave his house, he invented a rolling press that could make an accurate copy of a document in less than 2 minutes. A primitive version of a printer, or very early version of a printer there. In his last years, he had insights into politics and the future of America that made people think of him as a seer, as someone with magical abilities. William Pierce, a delegate to the Constitutional Convention, met Franklin near the end of his life and wrote, "Dr. Franklin is well known to be the greatest philosopher of the present age. All the operations of nature he seems to understand. He is 82 years old, and possesses an activity of mind equal to a youth of 25 years of age." It is interesting to speculate what depths of understanding such masters could have reached if they have lived even longer. Perhaps in the future, with life expectancy increasing, we will witness examples of the Benjamin Franklin variety, stretching to even more advanced ages. The return to reality. People can argue endlessly about what constitutes reality, but let us start our definition with a simple, undeniable fact. Some 4 billion years ago, life began on this planet in the shape of simple cells. These cells, perhaps even one cell in particular, were the common ancestors to all life forms that followed. From that single source, various branches of life emerged. Some 1.2 billion years ago, there appeared the first multicellular creatures. 600 million years ago, there emerged perhaps the greatest development of all, organisms with a central nervous system, the starting point that eventually led to the brains we now possess. From the Cambrian explosion of life, some 500 million years ago, came the first simple animals, followed by the first vertebrates. Some 360 million years ago, we see the first traces on land of amphibious creatures. And 120 million years ago, the first mammals. Branching off in a new mammalian direction about 60 million years ago, we see signs of the earliest primates from whom we are directly descended. The earliest human ancestors arrived some 6 million years ago, and 4 million years later, our most recent ancestor, Homo erectus. And just 200,000 years ago, the anatomically modern human emerged, with more or less the same brain size that we now possess. In this remarkably complex chain of circumstances, we can identify, at certain turning points, a single ancestor from whom we humans have evolved, the first cells, simple animals, mammals, then primates. Some archaeologists have speculated about a single female ancestor from whom all modern humans have descended. Moving up the chain, backwards in time, it is clear that who we are today, our particular physiological makeup, is intimately connected to each one of these original ancestors, as far back as the first cells of life. Since all life forms are descended from this common beginning, they are all interconnected in some way. And we humans are intimately implicated in this network. This is undeniable. Let us call this interrelatedness of life the ultimate reality. And in relation to this reality, the human mind tends to go in one of two directions. On the one hand, the mind tends to move away from this interconnectedness and focus instead on the distinctions between things, taking objects out of their contexts and analyzing them as separate entities. At the extreme, this tendency leads to highly specialized forms of knowledge. In the world today, we can see many signs of this tendency. The microscopic divisions between the fields in our universities, the narrowest of specializations in the sciences. In the culture at large, people will make the finest distinctions between closely related or overlapping subjects, and argue endlessly about the differences. They will distinguish between military and civilian society, even though in a democracy such a distinction is not so easy to make. Perhaps keeping people and fields of study so rigorously separated can be considered the ultimate ploy of those in power, a version of divide and conquer. At this level of thinking, a sense of the interrelatedness of life and phenomena is lost, and in becoming so specialized, ideas can become quite weird and disconnected from reality. On the other hand, there is the opposing tendency of the brain to want to make connections between everything. This generally occurs among individuals who pursue knowledge far enough that these associations come to life. Although this tendency is easier to spot in masters, we can see in history certain movements and philosophies in which this return to reality becomes widespread in a culture. Part of the zeitgeist. For instance, in the ancient world, there was Taoism in the East and Stoicism in the West, both movements that endured for centuries. In Taoism, there is the concept of the way, and in Stoicism, that of the logos. That of the logos. I actually don't know. Is it logos or logos? And in Stoicism, that of the logos, the ordering principle of the universe that connects all living things. As Marcus Aurelius expresses it, keep reminding yourself of the way things are connected, of their relatedness. All things are implicated in one another, and in sympathy with each other. This event is the consequence of some other one. Things push and pull on each other, and breathe together, and are one. Perhaps the greatest example of this was the Renaissance, a cultural movement for which the ideal was the universal man, a person who has managed to connect all branches of knowledge and approximate the intellectual reach of the Creator. Perhaps today we are witnessing the early signs of a return to reality, a renaissance in modern form. In the sciences, the first seeds of this began with Faraday, Maxwell, and Einstein, who focused on the relationships between phenomena, fields of force instead of individual particles. In the larger sense, Many scientists are now actively seeking to connect their various specializations to others. For instance, how neuroscience intersects so many other disciplines. We see signs of this also in the growing interest in theories of complexity applied to such disparate fields as economics, biology, and computers. We can see it in the broadening of our thinking to ecosystems as a way to truly conceptualize the dynamic interactions in nature. We can see it in health and medicine, in the sane approach many are taking to consider the body as a whole. This trend is the future, because the purpose of consciousness itself has always been to connect us to reality. As individuals, we can participate in this trend simply by pursuing mastery. In our apprenticeships, we naturally begin by learning the parts and making various distinctions, the right and wrong way to proceed, the individual skills to master, and their particular techniques, various rules and conventions that govern the group. In the creative active, we begin to melt these distinctions as we experiment with, shape, and alter these conventions to suit our purposes. And in mastery, we come full circle, returning to a sense of the whole. We intuit and see the connections. We embrace the natural complexity of life, making the brain expand to the dimensions of reality, instead of shrinking it to the narrowest of specializations. This is the inevitable outcome of deep immersion in a field. We can define intelligence as moving toward thinking that is more contextual, more sensitive to the relationships between things. Think of it this way. The ultimate distinction you make is between yourself and the world. There is the inside, your subjective experience, and there is the outside. But every time you learn something, your brain is altered as new connections are formed. Your experience of something that occurs in the world physically alters your brain. The boundaries between you and the world are much more fluid than you might imagine. When you move toward mastery, your brain becomes radically altered by the years of practice and active experimentation. It is no longer the simple ecosystem of years gone by. The brain of a master is so richly interconnected that it comes to resemble the physical world. Excuse me. And becomes a vibrant ecosystem in which all forms of thinking associate and connect. This growing similarity between the brain and complex life itself represents the ultimate return to reality. Keep going for a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna run to the washroom real quick. I'll be right back. I'm back. Need to get a sweater too. It's getting a little bit cold. Okay. We'll go for the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll end the stream. But we're getting pretty close to the end here. It's not well, actually no. No, scratch that. We still have a decent amount to read through. Yeah, we've got about 40. Oh, no, sorry. So it's like 41 pages. So on average, usually we read about 10 pages every stream. So yeah, we'll probably be done the book by next week. Just kind of crazy. So let's continue for a little while here. Strategies for attaining mastery. Quote, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." Albert Einstein. End quote. Mastery is not a function of genius or talent. It is a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge. But there is another element, an X factor that masters inevitably possess, that seems mystical, but that is accessible to us all. Whatever field of activity we are involved in, there is generally an accepted path to the top. It is a path that others have followed, and because we are conformist creatures, most of us opt for this conventional routine. But masters have a strong inner guiding system and a high level of self-awareness. What has suited others in the past does not suit them, and they know that trying to fit into a conventional mold would only lead to a dampening of spirit, the reality they seek, eluding them. And so inevitably, these masters, as they progress on their career paths, make a choice at a key moment in their lives. They decide to forge their own route, one that others will see as unconventional, but that suits their own spirit and rhythms, and leads them closer to discovering the hidden truths of their objects of study. This key choice takes self-confidence and self-awareness, the X factor that is necessary for attaining mastery. The following are examples of this X factor in action and the strategic choices it leads to. The examples given are meant to show the importance of this quality and how we might adapt it to our own circumstances. Number 1. Connect to your environment. Primal powers. Among the many feats of human navigation of the sea, perhaps none are more remarkable and mysterious than the voyages of the indigenous peoples in the area known as Oceania. Oceania, comprising the islands of Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. In an area that is 99.8% water, the inhabitants of this region were able for many centuries to deftly navigate the vast spaces between the islands. Some 1,500 years ago, they managed to travel the several thousand miles to Hawaii, and perhaps at one point, even voyaged as far as parts of North and South America. All in canoes with the same design and technology as those of the Stone Age. During the 19th century, mostly because of Western interference and the introduction of charts and compasses, these ancient navigating skills died out. and the source of their uncanny skill remained mostly a mystery. But in the area of Micronesia known as the Caroline Islands, certain islanders maintained the ancient traditions well into the 20th century, and the first Westerners who traveled with them were astonished at what they witnessed. The islanders would travel in outrigger canoes, fitted with a sail with 3 or 4 men aboard, one serving as the chief navigator. They had no charts or instruments of any kind, and for the Westerners who accompanied them, this could be a disconcerting experience. Taking off at night or day, it didn't matter to them. There would apparently be nothing to guide them along the way. The islands were so far apart that one could travel for days without spotting land. To go off course only slightly, and storms or weather changes could certainly cause that, would mean never spotting the destination, and probably death. It would take too long to find the next island in the chain, and supplies would run out. And yet they would embark on their sea voyages with a remarkably relaxed spirit. The chief navigator would occasionally glance at the night sky or the position of the sun, but mostly he talked with the others or stared straight ahead. Sometimes, one of the men would lie belly down in the middle of the outrigger canoe and report some information he had gleaned. In general, they gave the impression of being passengers on a train, serenely taking in the passing scenery. They seemed even calmer at night. When they were supposedly getting closer to their destination, they would become slightly more alert. They would follow the paths of birds in the sky. They would look deeply into the water, which they would sometimes cup in their hands and smell. When they arrived at their destination, it was all with the air of pulling into the train station on time. They seemed to know exactly how long it would take and how many supplies were required for the voyage. Along the way, they would make perfect adjustments to any changes in weather or currents. Curious as to how this was possible, some Westerners asked to be initiated into their secrets, and over the decades, such travelers managed to piece together the system the islanders used. As these Westerners discovered, one of their principal means of navigation was following the paths of stars in the night sky. Over the course of centuries, they had devised a chart comprising the path of 14 different constellations. These constellations, along with the sun and the moon, described arcs in the sky that could translate into 32 different directions around the circle of the horizon. These arcs remained the same, no matter the season. From their own island, they could map out the location of all of the islands in their area by locating what stars they should be under at particular moments at night, and they knew how this position would change to another star as they traveled toward their destination. The islanders had no writing system. Apprentice navigators simply had to memorize this elaborate map, which was in continual motion. During the day, they would chart a course by the sun. Toward the middle of the day, they could read the exact direction they were headed in by the shadows that were cast on the mast. At dawn or at sunset, they could use the moon or the stars sinking below the horizon or starting to rise. To help them measure the distance they had covered, they would choose an island somewhere off to the side as a reference point. By following the stars in the sky, they could calculate when they would be passing by this reference island, and how much time remained to reach their destination. As part of this system, they envisioned that their canoe was completely still. The stars moved above them, and the islands in the ocean were moving toward, and then away from them as they passed by them. Acting as if the canoe were stationary made it easier to calculate their position, within their reference system. Although they knew the islands didn't move, that islands did not move, after many years of traveling this way, they would literally experience the trip as if they were sitting still. This would account for the impression they gave of looking like passengers in a train viewing the passing landscape. Their sky chart was complemented by dozens of other signs they had learned to read. In their apprenticeship system, young navigators would be taken to sea and made to float in the ocean for several hours. In this way, they could learn to distinguish the various currents by how they felt on their skin. After much practice, they could read these currents by lying down on the floor of the canoe. They had developed a similar sensitivity to winds and could identify various wind currents by how they moved the hairs on their head or the sail on the outrigger. Once they approached an island, they knew how to interpret the paths of land birds, which left in the morning to fish or returned at dusk to their homes. They could read the changes in the phosphorescence of the water that indicated closeness to land, and they could gauge whether the clouds in the distance were reflecting land beneath them or simply ocean. They could touch the water to their lips, sensing any changes in temperature that indicated they were approaching an island. There were many more such indicators. The islanders had learned to see everything in this environment as a potential sign. What was most remarkable was that the chief navigator hardly seemed to be paying attention to this complex network of signs. Only an occasional glance upward or downward would indicate any kind of reading that was going on. Apparently, master navigators knew the sky charts so well that with the sight of one star in the sky, they could immediately sense where all of the others were located. They had learned how to read the other navigational signs so well that it all had become second nature. They had a complete feel for this environment, including all of the variables that seemed to make it so chaotic and dangerous. As one Westerner put it, such masters could travel hundreds of miles from island to island as easily as an experienced cab driver could negotiate the labyrinthian streets of London. And I think that is a good place for us to end our reading for today. So I want to thank all of you guys who have tuned into the stream today. I greatly appreciate it, as always. Tomorrow is the 100 subscriber special video that is going to be going up. I'm going to be scheduling that right after I finish the stream. It's all edited, it's all put together. I'm really happy with how it looks, and I think you guys are gonna like it. It's gonna show more of basically what the channel's about, what I'm doing here, why am I posting this stuff, and also we'll give you a preview of some of my previous work I've done in the past 2 months. So I'm definitely looking forward for you guys to check that out. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. And there's also, I believe, there will be a new series starting tomorrow. It's an 8-part series of a narration of, as a hint, I use AI. So I use ChatGPT to make the script and the story. And I also used it to create images to go along with it. So I think it'll be really cool. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm pretty happy with how it looks and how it came out. So with that being said, thank you very much to everybody that tuned in. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Or if I don't sleep too well, probably about 10. But we'll see. Hopefully 9. So until then, take care.